Sometimes evil doesn't arrive in the dead of night. Sometimes it walks right into your home smiling, helpful, and pretending to care. This case isn't just about crime. It's about trust, manipulation, and the terrifying things people will do to protect a lie. Detectives said this case changed them. After months of investigating, even the most hardened officers admitted, this one broke something in us. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to Famous Crime Cases, where we uncover stories that challenge what you think you know about humanity. In 2017, the town of Ashwood, Oregon, was the kind of place people described as safe. A population of 2,800. Tree-lined streets. Coffee shops that closed before sundown. Nothing bad ever happened here until the night a beloved local teacher vanished without a trace. Her name was Grace Holloway, 29 years old, a literature teacher at Ashwood High. Grace was the kind of person everyone liked. She volunteered at shelters, brought cookies to class, remembered every student's birthday. She was, by all accounts, too kind for her own good. But behind that kindness was a quiet loneliness. Grace lived alone. She had no close family nearby. Her friends said she often stayed late at school grading papers, listening to rain against the windows. Then, one evening, she didn't come home. It was October 19th. Grace left the school at 6:42 p.m., captured by the parking lot camera holding her usual canvas tote, waving goodnight to the janitor. At 7:18 p.m., her phone pinged a final signal from a wooded area just off County Road 12, a route she almost never took. The next morning, her car was found abandoned in that same area. Her purse still on the seat. Keys in the ignition. The driver's side door slightly open. Detectives later described the scene as eerily calm, as if someone wanted it to look ordinary. No signs of struggle. No footprints. No broken glass. Just absence and an overwhelming feeling that something terrible had happened. Detective Aaron Myles and his partner Nora Kent led the case. Both had been in homicide for over a decade, calm, methodical, and rarely surprised. But even from the start, something about Grace's disappearance unsettled them. There were no enemies, no debts, no history of mental illness. Everyone loved Grace Holloway. Everyone except one person who loved her too much. 2 days into the search, investigators interviewed Harold Finch, the 46-year-old school maintenance worker. Harold was quiet, soft-spoken, with a gentle stutter. He had worked at Ashwood High for nearly 20 years. To most, he was invisible, the man who fixed lockers and changed light bulbs. But when detectives looked through Grace's classroom CCTV, something caught their attention. Harold appeared in the background often. Almost every day. Sometimes just cleaning nearby. Sometimes pausing by her door. Watching her. He told investigators he looked out for her because she was too nice for her own safety. He said it with such innocence that even Detective Kent hesitated before pressing further. But when they checked his employee file, they found something curious. A transfer from another district after a professional boundary violation with a female staff member 5 years earlier. The file didn't specify what kind. Forensics found faint traces of bleach in the trunk of Harold Finch's car. When questioned, he said he had spilled cleaning supplies from school. Detectives searched his home, a small, dimly lit house on the edge of town. In his basement, they discovered a workbench filled with labeled jars, screws, and old photographs of Ashwood High. Behind a loose panel, they found something else. A small notebook. Inside were handwritten notes, meticulous and disturbing. Each entry recorded details about Grace. What she wore, where she parked, how long she stayed after work. The final entry read, "She smiled at me again. She trusts me now. I'll make sure she never gets hurt." Detective Myles confronted Harold with the notebook. At first, Harold denied everything. "It's just writing," he said. "I write to calm myself." But then Myles asked about the bleach, the route Grace never took, and the phone ping from County Road 12. Harold's composure broke. He started trembling, whispering, "She wasn't supposed to be scared." When pressed, he said something that chilled everyone in the room. "She said she was leaving. I couldn't let her leave." That was the moment the case turned from a missing person to a homicide. 3 days later, search teams discovered Grace's body in a shallow section of the Ashwood River covered by branches, weighed down with rocks. The autopsy revealed she had been suffocated, likely with a cloth, and had defensive wounds on both hands. Time of death: between 7:30 p.m. and 8:15 p.m., the same window her phone signal had gone dark. When detectives confronted Harold with the evidence, he confessed in fragments, through tears and contradictions. He said he only wanted to talk, but things went wrong. He claimed he panicked when she fought back. Then, in a moment of horrifying calm, he said, "I was the only one who cared about her. Nobody else deserved her time." The courtroom was packed every day of the trial. Harold sat motionless, eyes lowered, as prosecutors revealed the full extent of his obsession: the surveillance, the stolen photos, the fabricated letters he wrote from Grace to himself. It wasn't just fixation, it was fantasy. For months, he had built an imaginary relationship in his mind. When Grace mentioned in casual conversation that she might move to Portland, his illusion began to crack. And when she stopped smiling as warmly at him in the hallways, his world collapsed. The jury deliberated for less than 5 hours. Guilty of first-degree murder. Sentence: life without parole. When the verdict was read, Detective Myles felt nothing but exhaustion. He later said in an interview, "We thought catching him would bring closure. It didn't. It just reminded us how easily evil hides behind loneliness." Ashwood changed after that. Teachers no longer stayed late. The janitor's office was locked and left empty. Students said the hallways felt different, heavier somehow. Detective Nora Kent transferred to a different department. Myles stayed, but he admitted he no longer looked at people the same way. "You start wondering how many Harolds you've walked past," he said. "How many people are one bad thought away from breaking?" The case became a training model for recognizing patterns of coercive control, how obsession can grow unnoticed until it's too late. Months after the trial, one of Grace's students organized a memorial reading at the school library. They placed her favorite books: To Kill a Mockingbird, Jane Eyre, Little Women, on a wooden table surrounded by candles. Detective Myles attended quietly, standing at the back. He picked up a note one student had left beside a photo of Grace. "You told us stories could save people. I wish one could have saved you." For a long moment, he couldn't breathe. There's a saying among detectives: monsters rarely look like monsters. They look like neighbors, co-workers, or the man who fixes the light above your desk. Harold Finch wasn't born evil. He was lonely, unnoticed until someone kind noticed him back. And when that kindness wasn't enough, he mistook rejection for betrayal. Detective Myles once said the hardest part wasn't what Harold did, it was how easily it could happen again. He wasn't a mastermind, just a man who wanted to be seen and destroyed the only person who ever saw him. Grace's story is more than tragedy. It's a mirror reflecting how thin the line is between affection and control, loneliness and danger. This case shattered the illusion of safe towns and harmless men. It reminded investigators and all of us that sometimes evil doesn't hide in shadows. It stands right beside us, waiting for a moment of kindness to mistake for permission. Justice was served. But for those who knew Grace Holloway, it will never feel like enough. This case didn't just test detectives, it broke them. But it also reminded the world of something crucial. You can't always see evil coming, but you can learn to recognize the silence before it arrives. Be cautious, stay aware, and remember, empathy is a gift, but never let it blind you to danger. If you found this story chilling, subscribe to Famous Crime Cases for more real-life investigation and human stories.